Hi there, welcome back to the Grow with Cara show. Today we continue our interview series with successful attorney marketers. We're taking a close look at what's working, what's not, the specific steps these attorneys took to get to where they are. And these are simple steps that you too can follow to get on a similar path to growth. Okay, let's get right to it. Today, our special guest is attorney Tina Ojegian. Tina is the founding attorney of the Ojegian Law Group, a traumatic brain injury litigation firm in Southern California. Tina and her team have collected more than $250 million on behalf of catastrophically injured workers, and that's just in the last few years alone. Tina is also the founder of the Brain Society of California. Welcome, Tina. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, Cara, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I crash watched a couple of your episodes the past week, and it's really amazing what you're doing. I commend you for educating, attorneys out there about marketing and social media marketing. It's such an important platform. So kudos to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. So Tina, to give our audience some context, how about you can start with telling us a little bit about your story, about your roots. I know a little bit about your story, and it's quite fascinating. I'd love for you to share some of that.
Sure. So I'm a first generation immigrant kid. I moved to the States at the age of 10. I was told by my parents that we're going on vacation. We came here with one suitcase and settled in my aunt's basement. There was a full-fledged war going on back home. So my dad broke the news that we won't be going back after we got here. And so, it was kind of really a tough journey, but it was also the kind of journey that, builds character, teaches hard work. I went to work in my aunt's flower shop and then my mom's flower shop since I was 10 years old. I remember long nights, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, till 2, 3 in the morning, helping my mom out with the workload and just kind of adapting and assimilating, into American culture, which was difficult and painful at first, but it turned out to be the most amazing journey. And I'm so grateful for all the opportunities that it provided me and my family. So I worked in my mom's shop since I was 12, and then I got a sales job doing makeup at the age of 16. And I did makeup. I loved it. I love, I've got an eye for like aesthetics and beauty and fashion. And so I put myself through school doing makeup. And in law school, they make you, warrant that you're not going to work because it's so rigorous. The first year I worked throughout, I helped support my family and put myself through school. And some of the most valuable things that I learned that I use now in my practice on a subconscious level sometimes are the skills that I developed from getting real life experience and working from a really young age. And the social acumen that you gain from that, and the emotional intelligence, the ability to communicate with people and sell yourself, which is essentially what we have to do as professionals, irrespective of the profession that we're in. So fast forward, I've been practicing law for almost 2 decades now. I started my own firm 10 years ago. I broke off with a partner maybe about 15 years ago. And, just kind of grown organically since then and done what felt right to me. Sometimes it was conventional. Most times it was unconventional, but, it's worked out well for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. So now, what is the team size? How many attorneys you have at your firm and how many support staff?
We're a small team. We're a team of 4 attorneys total with the staff altogether. There's 15 of us. I deliberately keep it that way. We're very selective about the cases we take on. We only represent folks that have suffered from traumatic brain injuries. We do some spinal cord injury cases, but all catastrophic. And Cara, we refer out everything else. And that's not because we feel like, everyone deserves amazing representation, but we just recognize that our bandwidth is limited and there's an opportunity cost to every case you take on. And, the brain injured community really resonates with me. I experienced it in my family. My mom had a stroke several years ago. And so I feel most passionate about those cases. And so I have decided that, those are the cases that we take on because bandwidth and attorney time is limited, and we want to give them our undivided attention to be able to bring them to fruition and get the most out of those cases. A lot of times when we see, I'll take over a case as a second or third attorney on it, and my predecessors are super smart. But the problem is, when you've got a caseload of, I don't know how many hundred cases, then these really valuable ones and really injured folks fall through the cracks with everyone else. And I just didn't want that business model for myself. So I decided early on to specialize. And I haven't looked back.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think what you just said is such a challenge for so many small law firms is to really stay pretty narrowly focused and not really just take anything that walks through the door, right? I mean, it sounds like you're focused on, TBI and catastrophic injury cases, particularly those that happen in the workplace. That seems like a very strategic decision, to do that. How did you kind of decide to position your firm in that way? Is it because of your background? Is it because of, you talked about the passion that you have for that area?
It's a really good question you bring up. And you said, how did you strategically, I wish I could tell you that there was some genius strategy that went into it. There wasn't. It really was sort of organic. I started out as a defense lawyer. When I hung up my shingle, there was a defense insurance company that came with me from the firm, and that's the only client I had. And then I took on a case on the plaintiff side against Macy's, and the adjuster was very pleased with the kind of work I did. All of the attorneys on their defense panel at the time were like big firms, and he allowed me to go and pitch to them, and so I ended up getting on that panel, and I was on it for over a decade. And one day I was in court and I saw this woman who was crying because her husband had fallen off the roof and their attorney was trying to strong arm them into some BS settlement amount. And I thought to myself, God, I would love to help her. I can help her. And I just felt so much more passionate about, making an impact in their lives than I did in the work that I was doing. And it's terrible to say that, but it just kind of was a light bulb moment for me. And so when we took on that case and got an outstanding result, it just kind of naturally went in that direction. And we ended up falling in this super small niche, but it was a really underserved niche because workers' comp is unfortunately a volume business. And so there's a lot of folks that are invisibly injured because traumatic brain injuries are invisible, that fall through the cracks and go through the system, getting sold out every day. And so once I realized that I can really make a difference in these people's lives and I can really make an impact and I can leave them better off than I found them, then I focused all my efforts towards getting those types of cases and then doing them justice once I got them. So it wasn't a strategic decision. Look, I'm a nerd. I love the science behind it. And everything happens for a reason. My own mom had a massive MCA stroke 6 years ago. And honestly, if it weren't for all the resources in the brain injury community that I had, accumulated over the years, she probably would have passed away. But they really, supported me and helped me nurse her back to health. And so it's been an amazing, amazing journey, and I would never look back. But now, for the first time, I feel on my own skin what it is my clients go through, which I think has been able to make me a better advocate for them.
Yeah. Wow. And you telling your story and really kind of explaining your personal experiences. I mean, what could be more compelling to prospective clients than, of course, knowing that you're the best suited to handle their specific legal need and, even from a personal level. So that's pretty cool. So Tina, tell us about your revenue growth in the last few years. Kind of what does that look like?
So I can't do numbers unless there's like a dollar sign in front of them. And I'm sure there's analytics on this stuff somewhere. I can just tell you that we have steadily grown over the course of the past decade. We had an outlier year, COVID year, and then the year after that, we held steady. But every other year, there's been kind of steady growth. As far as like percentages, I can't really break that down for you. I don't have the analytics in front of me. I'm not the numbers person. My husband retired from dentistry a couple of years ago to come help with that aspect of my practice, so I wouldn't have to worry about it. I just know that things are going well, and and everything that we're doing, sure, there's always more to learn. There's things to tweak, and we do that. Okay, so we've always tried to stay away from conventional methods of marketing, right? I don't have a huge advertising budget. I don't do billboards. I don't cast a wide net because it takes a tremendous amount of resources to sift through what you get.
Yeah.
To get the cases that you specialize in and that you can do justice by, right? And so for me, to the extent we even did pay-per-click, we would buy my name because there was some mistaken identity going on with a copycat a few years back. But other than that, we do some super lawyers, articles and things like that for peer recognition purposes, so that colleagues that aren't on social media are kept apprised of like some of the results we hit, some of the cases that were published on. But I really focus all of my efforts to the extent you can call them marketing efforts, on nurturing relationships. My referrals come from happy clients and from colleagues. There's PI lawyers that'll send me PI, TBI cases. There's comp lawyers that'll send me TBI, workers' comp cases, because they recognize that we're going to be able to recover for that client in a way that will make sense for them. It's more lucrative for them. And also they'd be able to do justice by their client, because maybe it's too specialized, it's too medicine heavy, and they understand that that's kind of our area of specialty and that's what we do. It's in our wheelhouse. So I focus my efforts and my marketing hours, let's call it, and resources on nurturing those relationships. I'm very, very fortunate in that, the folks that used to refer me cases a decade ago still do. So there's not this constant need to like wine and dine and get the pipeline full of new folks. Certainly there are new folks that come around just from organically seeing our content on social media and what's picked up from Google, from our social media, and from the other organic content that we put out. But, nurturing relationships and doing justice by those existing business relationships is definitely the way to go.
That's great. That's amazing advice. It really is. So, well, this really feeds in nicely kind of to the social media piece, because obviously that's all about relationship building. You're a master at that. Before we get into some of the specifics of the social media, are you primarily targeting, maybe targeting is the wrong word. Are you primarily looking to, sort of connect with fellow attorneys, for referral purposes, or prospective clients, or both? Tell me a little bit about that.
I'm laughing, Cara, because I love you. You are such a marketing machine. You're so good at what you do. You said strategizing, and now you're saying targeting. And a lot of this goes over my head. When I started my social media account back in 2015, over 7 years ago, I wasn't targeting anything. I just wanted a creative outlet to post about, my family and fun stuff and fashion that I'm super passionate about. And, back then I caught a lot of flack because it was so not conventional, not lawyer-like, and what the hell are you doing, right? But then now, I see everyone kind of coming around and showing more of their hobbies and personal interests, because it occurred to me early on that people looking at pages don't want to see a generic business page. They want to see a person that they can relate with and resonate with. And so I wasn't, to the extent I was strategizing, I didn't know it. I was just doing what felt right to my gut at the time. And I just kind of went with it, despite being given advice to the contrary. And I saw it working. And so I did more of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, you're a trailblazer in that way for sure. And so social media specifically, you're at Tina Ojegian on Instagram, where you have nearly 500,000 followers. Your reach on that platform, it really is pretty incredible. I'm a big fan of the content that you post, but let's kind of talk a little bit more about that journey. So, I think you really have sort of mastered this nice mix of content on your platform, right? It seems you've kind of found that perfect balance of work-related, legal posts, family stuff, certainly fashion. How do you decide sort of what to post? Do you batch record video content? Let's give a little bit of insight there.
Let me get more into it. I understand what you're asking now. So look, I would post about fashion because it's something I'm passionate about and it's a hobby and it was my creative outlet. And then I'd post about my family because they're a huge part of my life and they're my driving force to do what I do. But I knew early on that what I was doing was unconventional. And in order to have the respect of my colleagues and folks looking at my page, I really needed to pepper my content with real life results and successes in my firm so that I'm taken seriously as an attorney. The one thing that I sort of caution new attorneys about, the ones that are on TikTok, on social media, doing these like cutesy videos, is be careful, make sure that you are representing on there the stuff that you're doing in your legal field as well. If you want to be viewed as an authority, as an attorney in law, if you've seen, people want to know that you've seen the inside of a courtroom, that you know what you're doing. And so make sure that you're balancing your content appropriately so that it's not all just kind of gimmick, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I would do is, let's say every 3 or 4 posts, I would make sure that there was something about a result that we hit, and like a 7-figure result that we hit. That way, if there was any doubt that we're real attorneys doing real work and getting real results by virtue of having like fun videos or goofy videos, then, you know, that kind of post would speak for itself, right? Or if we're published often because we try cases that are cases of either first impression or, you know, workers' comp in particular tends to be very case law heavy, right? And so precedent is really important. And in my practice, I've always been really concerned about getting great results for my clients, but also getting results that can help everybody else industry wide, right? So we can raise the bar together. If my colleagues are doing well, I'm doing well. If they're doing better, I'm doing better, because the next time I go to that carrier and ask for a shit ton of money, it's not, you know, the first time they're hearing about it. And so it makes my life easier, and it just kind of honestly helps the plaintiff's bar all around. And so I make sure if there is a case law that we got published on that I think my colleagues could use, that I do like a little informational video on that, you know, or include the Lexis site on that. You know, if I'm speaking at a conference, you know, whether it's my own conference, Brain SoCal, or something else, I make sure that there's a post about that. So I really make it a point to integrate all aspects of my life. So it's as accurate a representation as you can get on social media, right? Of all different aspects of my life. I find that many of my followers, I think my followers, I'd say, Cara, are 65% plus female. A lot of them are young attorneys and law students, you know, who aspire to do big things in this profession. I do a lot of mentorship just informally through my DM, or, you know, formally through, you know, the various organizations I've been involved in. But, you know, I think that I'm not as focused as getting direct referrals on Instagram. Of course that happens, right? But Instagram has just been an amazing vehicle for me. It's been a platform for me. For example, if I need a great law clerk or a great assistant, I do some of the best hiring off of IG, right? If someone's really catastrophically hurt and, you know, their aunt's sister has been following me on Instagram and sees all, you know, the great fashion and the great results, I'm the first person they'll think about, you know, not because I've got a generic page up, but because they think, you know, because they know me by virtue of having followed me. They know the kind of work I put in, they know my work ethic, they know, you know what I mean? And so it's been an amazing, platform and vehicle in that way. But have I targeted any certain group of folks, or was it strategic? I wish I could tell you that it was, but it hasn't been entirely. It's just organically developed into what it is.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. And it is so clear that you know, are being authentic and genuine. You're taking down those walls, right? Building that trust. And like you said, of course, you would be top of mind when anyone, you know, or friends or family would need your services. How about how much time would you say you spend creating social media content, or just on social media in general, maybe per week?
Sure. So I was watching Bob's interview on here, and I love him. He's great. He's a great colleague. But, you know, and he's talking about a social media team. I was like, I wish I could tell you I had a social media team. I'm sort of a control freak, Cara, and I want to maintain control over my own content, because I've got this concern, right, that it'll lose authenticity or like get watered down. And so I bank a lot of my videos and my photos with the help of my amazing assistant, Diana, who's here right now, or my 7-year-old Luca, who takes a lot of the photos, right? And then as far as like the quotes and the motivational stuff, I just kind of bank things that I see that speak to me, that I'm like, oh, you know, that's really uplifting, or yeah, you know, that changed my mood. And I share that. I have her help me put it together. I bank my content because, realistically speaking, Cara, there's no way, you know, if I'm in trial or something going on, that I can find the time to do it every day. And the one thing I tell a lot of new attorneys looking to get on social media is, if you're not going to be consistent with it, do yourself a favor and don't do it. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So I'm very cognizant of that. And so I make sure that I bank ample content to be able to post on a regular schedule in the event that I am, you know, tied up in trial or there is stuff going on. So
Smart.
realistically speaking, Cara, if I had to break it down, I'd say maybe 15-20% of my work week is spent on marketing efforts surrounding social media, On top of that, I go to a lot of social functions. I do a lot of meet and greets. I do a lot of speaking at conferences and educating. That's a huge marketing tool for me.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I'm passionate about it. Like I told you before, I'm big on raising the bar industry wide. But as it turns out, those efforts are very, very fruitful with respect to getting referrals as well. So, once you put it all together, I'd say, 45% of my time is spent, marketing myself and my firm, social media being a part of that.
Yeah, that's important. I think that's really important for attorneys to hear. This is a dedicated effort for sure, and you can see it really paying off. Just interested, how long ago did you start your Instagram account? Do you remember?
Over 7 years ago.
7 years ago. Okay.
I was one of the only attorneys on there.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
It was not viewed as conventional, so it kind of
Right.
started off as a personal page. I had a business page,
Yeah.
I still have it, Cara,
Yeah.
but I do most of my posting and most of my outreach and engagement through my personal page because, that tends to be the one that gets hit up the most. Even the referrals, when I do get referrals, come to my personal page, not my business page. So,
well, yeah, like you said, people want to connect with a person rather than an organization, right? It just makes sense. So did it take off right away? Was there kind of a turning point where it seemed like your content just, kind of clicked and started resonating and you saw the growth?
No, absolutely not right away. It took a lot of time because it was a work in progress, right? And I was learning as I went. I wasn't as consistent with my posting. I wasn't polished. I'm still not polished. I'm big on it being like authentic and messy,
right.
and and folks reach out all the time who give me unsolicited advice who are in the business. Say, let us help you. Let us streamline your page. Let's make sure you get that, polished, that aesthetic. And I'm not really interested in that, but but early on, I wasn't as dedicated. I didn't understand how the algorithms work. I wasn't engaging, and with the audience that I should have been engaging with. And so it took some time, but it's kind of like that Malcolm Gladwell book. I forget now which one it is. I love all those books that talks about the 10,000 hours and like the 10 years to like hit your stride. In my practice, certainly, I felt like it just took pounding the pavement and doing it and failing and retrying until finally I hit my stride at the 10-year mark. And then, it's been off to the races since then. Similarly with my social media, I don't necessarily think that, I'm anywhere close to the full potential, but I am understanding now how it works and you get what you put into it. And, at the 5-year mark, I'd say it really started to kind of take off. I had some videos kind of go viral, and then I understood what works and what doesn't work, and I fine-tuned accordingly, and it turned into what it is today. Now, we get a lot of, brand partnership opportunities, a lot of opportunities in law, outside of law that we never even fathomed. Not all of them are for us, but certainly we're starting to see the full potential of, having a robust social media presence.
It's very cool. Very cool. So tell me a little bit about your Law in Stilettos mastermind group. I love this. Tell us a little bit about the mission behind that group and why you started it.
So I didn't start it. I wish I could.
Oh.
My friend Karina started it. I'm one of the founders in a sense that I joined her. And so now we kind of preside over that group. During COVID, I really sensed that there was kind of low morale, with my friends and colleagues that I would speak to. And I've always been really big on female empowerment and making sure that my female colleagues are given the same opportunities, that they avail themselves of the same opportunities, that, they get rid of the limiting beliefs that don't serve us, and whether it's imposter syndrome or whatever it is that we suffer from, male and female alike, but more so in the female attorney population within my inner circle, right? And so I wanted to start kind of a female empowerment group, Cara. And then I was talking to my friend Karina, who's like, look, I started this like chat room on this thing called Clubhouse. You really ought to check it out. I was like, what the hell is that? And then once I got on there, I was on there like 7 hours a day. It ended up being like this really cool, eye-opening time warp. But we started hosting, she was hosting at the time, Law in Stilettos. And I told her, look, I want to do this effort. I'm big on collaboration over competition. Do we need another female attorney group? We don't. Let's just join forces and do it. And she was like, oh my God, we'd love to have you. So her and her friend Karima Gulik, who is a brilliant like patent trademark attorney. Karina herself does some PI. She's the debt fairy. They're amazing women. I joined forces with them, and the three of us, kind of took the reins of Law and Stilettos. And then once COVID was over and Clubhouse wasn't the platform it was, because we would get like 200 people, for any given chat in our room. And obviously Clubhouse at some point died out because people got back to like real life and in-person meetings and all the cool stuff that we were, not able to avail ourselves of during COVID. So Karina is like a master marketer, right? Like she'll go on 4 lunches a week, dinners a week, and she's just a genuine, kind person. And her driving force is to help other women in this profession. And I love that. And it's so beautiful. And so I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be a part of helping her forward that effort. And so now we host like lunches, Cara, that are like 100, 200 attorneys. They get sold out really quickly. We, talk amongst ourselves. We bring in motivational speakers to talk to the ladies. We kind of, conference amongst ourselves. Like I hosted a dinner the other day with 10 women, if someone's looking to make a move or, they're not sure, are they adequately being compensated? Are there other opportunities out there? It's just kind of having a sounding board of successful women to be able to mentor one another and uplift one another. And that is what Law and Stilettos is about. There are a lot of great things for us in the future. We're going to hopefully do a summit. Whether or not there'll be like a shared workspace, I don't know what's in the future, but for now, the mission of the organization is to uplift other female trial lawyers to take opportunities to try cases, because we're graduating like 55% women. I think 25% are making their way in the courtroom, to hang up their own shingle, to assert themselves, to find their voice, because back when we started, Cara, we didn't have those resources. We relied on our own insecurities and trial and error experiences to get us to where we got to. But now there's such a plethora of resources and organizations, this just being one of them that I'm pretty invested in. So I spend a lot of my time and do a lot of my mentorship through Law and Stilettos, Brain SoCal, the Armenian Bar Association board, which I rotated off recently, but mostly organically through my DMs on Instagram.
Yeah. Well, Tina, what's more powerful than a peer group where you can share what's working, seek those solutions, right? Review progress, even hold each other accountable, plan, what you're going to do next. That's very cool. I'm definitely going to share information on Law with Stilettos to all of our listeners. So thank you. I always like to ask my guests, if there's a lawyer watching, they maybe only have time to adopt 1, maybe 2 of your tips. What would you recommend?
Be authentic, be yourself. People have a bullshit detector, don't see something, even if you like it, don't try to necessarily emulate, do your own thing. That's the first thing. The second thing is trust yourself. You're enough. You've got what it takes. Just do you in that respect. Work on yourself, right? And that doesn't have to necessarily be within the confines of our legal profession. If you're struggling with limiting beliefs or self-confidence issues or the ability to assert yourself in a room or, some trial techniques that you think you need help with, or just interpersonal skills, work on yourself, read books, do different programs, different retreats, whatever it is that nourishes your soul, that, because once you become a more confident kind of person, right? And once you become a more content and happy and positive person, right? Then that kind of resonates with people around you. And then whatever you're approaching just ends up being more successful. So invest in yourself, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. Work out, take care of yourself, make yourself a priority. And just trust that that process will materialize in a way that serves you in your business as well. I don't know if that made any sense, Cara, but
it's great. And Tina, so much of what you're saying seems like common sense, right? But it's so often overlooked, right? so many pressing client matters, family stuff, it always seems to kind of take precedence. But, I love that, simple, direct advice. I think it's important for people to hear. So, thank you so much. And Tina, thank you for sharing all of your experience, your advice today. It was a lot of fun learning from you. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. I love your energy. I told you I crash watched a bunch of your episodes, but this was really a treat. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure. And everyone, be sure to join us for our next episode of Grow with Cara, happening very soon. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye, guys.